Hello everyone, and today I am back with HASBRO. This is a little mini series that I'm going to be doing. The Delta 7 video did pretty well, so today we're taking a look at the Power of the Force Imperial TIE Fighter from 1995. This one's old and I cannot wait to get into this. So starting with the basics, of course, the key thing to point out here is that HASBRO can custom mould all of their plastics, so there is never going to be a TIE fighter that doesn't look spherical. This one is very spherical and I do really like the mould. Now the wings are a little short on this one. I think that might be for maybe stability for kids so they don't snap the wings, but it does have that more Star Wars Rebels appearance, I think. This thing's of course based off the original trilogy, and I really love the muted colours, that sort of like sand blue-ish with like the really sort of monochrome grey there. I do really like that blend. I think it looks really good. Of course you can see a lot of the fine little details, the lasers here. You have the cockpit hatch, I'll get to that in a minute. We have the wings and the actual solar panels themselves, which have a lot of good detail. Now LEGO TIE Fighters can't have all this detail on the inside of the wings, they're just anti-studs, but here you can see it's all nicely moulded. And on the outside of the wings we can see again this very nicely moulded detail. Of course, again, a downside to HASBRO is we do have all of these screw holes on the underside, but even on the underside here you can see this very nice moulding. Like, look at that, all that detail. You're never going to get this with LEGO, and that is one thing that HASBRO does really well. One thing I have to say though is I'm very disappointed that there's no missile feature. Here is where the missile should be, and they didn't even bother like colouring it in or anything. Like, it's just a blank thing. I think you could have easily had like a little actuator at the bottom here to fire a single missile out, and I think that's a wasted opportunity there. Again, this is very old, but they did have firing functions back in the day. Swinging around back now, and the final thing I have to really say about this in terms of overall detail is I'm not really happy with this back section because they reuse the same mould. They don't make like exclusive molds for every model. This is a reused mould from the original 1980s Vader's tie. Now I also do have that. I will be reviewing that in the future. But yeah, and if you've actually seen a classic Imperial TIE Fighter, this back section doesn't exist. So it is a bit inaccurate here, and it's a bit lazy, I'm gonna say, from HASBRO. You know, like these are the engines on Vader's tie. They used to mimic the cockpit hatch here, but they are where the engines go on Vader's tie. And where are the twin ion engines for a standard tie? They don't exist. So I don't like how they've just added that in there. Now the original Vader's tie had a battery compartment here for lights and sounds. This one doesn't have that either, so that is a downside. One plus side to this though is it can be used as quite a nice handle. It is quite a nice handle, so I think maybe that was the intention. You can swoosh it around like that, so maybe they had kids in mind when they were designing this part. Getting into the cockpit now, we can see this fairly basic hatch. Now, of course, this is from the 90s. We have to keep remembering that. There is a fair amount of detail here. We have the windows. They are just holes. They're not transparent glass. And we can see the cockpit is just going to separate into two parts. This is a bit inaccurate for a TIE fighter. Of course, there's going to be a hatch going this way, but it doesn't really matter. And this was just the style for the original TIE fighters. You can just see this little pin here is going to click into that little resting spot there where it locks in. You do have a tray to fit a figure there, if I can get the lighting to work. I don't know if this TIE fighter came with like a TIE fighter pilot. That would be a downside to LEGO, of course, that has their minifigs, but you can just see that tray in there. There is one sticker in there as well, just representing the consoles. I'm happy with that. That's just one sticker on the entire TIE Fighter again, due to the custom modding plastic. HASBRO doesn't need to have stickers, right? But yeah, you can just fit one singular figure in there and the cockpit works fine. The main attraction, the main feature to this TIE Fighter, which Hasbro has been doing for years and years, continuing after Kenner, that I remember with the Force Awakens Hasbro TIE, they still had this feature. You can of course have a little sort of battle simulation. What you do when you pick up your TIE Fighter is there is a little action feature here, and it's incredibly disguised. I love how Hasbro's done this. There's no big red thing or thing that says, you know, press here. It's just a discreet little part of the TIE Fighter, and if you click in, you're flying around, you click in, and the wing pops off. I love that feature. You can do this to both wings to simulate the battle damage, and you can just see there's like a spring in there. It is spring loaded, and you can sort of see as I move this, there's a little thing that wiggles up and down within there, so that's how that works. But it's an incredibly good feature. It's incredibly fun, you know, obviously for a kid to sort of be like a crash landing of this thing. It is fairly easy to attach. Again, you can just get it aligned and then sort of wiggle it in. It does sort of click into place. And you'd think it'd be fairly flimsy. I mean, the wings, I'm gonna say the wings are generally weaker than the Lego model. I think Lego models generally are a lot stronger, just in terms of the designs. You see the wings can wobble. They're not going to fall off, but yeah, just be careful, you know, don't catch it on anything. This is a very iconic Hasbro vehicle, and if you were to get this now, it would probably only run you about £60. I mean, you know, obviously they vary. I think that there's a lot less anomalies for buying second-hand Hasbro vehicles, you know. With Lego, they have more of a tendency to yellow. Lego, the pieces can be missing, the pieces can be cracked. The stickers, Lego has a lot more stickers, so they could be wonky, they could be missing. You have the minifigs that can have like cracks down the arms and stuff. Like, there's a lot more anomalies with buying Lego, so I think if you wanted to buy this second hand, I think that's definitely a viable option. And for second hand, they only go for about like £30, £20. It's good if you want a really successful TIE Fighter. I mean, this is from 1995. That's so cool. It's such like a retro piece of history. But yeah, to sum this up, I think this is a very successful model, a very successful display piece and toy for kids. The wings are a little short, as I said, but it doesn't really bother me, particularly because we have seen TIE Fighters like this within, you know, Star Wars Rebels. I think that the only major drawbacks is, of course, the lack of a missile. I don't like that inaccurate backside, and of course, you know, with Hasbro, you can't mod it or change it. It is what it is. You can't like rip the plastic off. So yeah, that is a bit of a downside. But in short, this is a very successful model, and I'm very, very happy with it. Let me know what you think of this model. Do you own any Hasbro Star Wars vehicles? Let me know what I should review next, and I will see you all next time. Thank you for watching.